think this video is kind of straightforward. So it's for the makeup thing for Excel with the exam. So I think the first thing we were just looking at here is just setting up the constraints for time. And as you can see on the right, they're in hours, so you want to convert those to minutes. So just multiply by 60 and just drag it down. I'm pretty sure you know how to do that. If not, just multiply everything by 60 if you're not familiar with that tool. I do use it again later on in the video, so just play around with it um, if you're new to that. Otherwise, this part is a bit tricky. I was stuck on this for so long, along with some other classmates of ours uh, in the math. Well, not the math lab. Well, I went there first, but anyways, just follow along in the video. I don't want to just go on a tangent here. So for this portion here, you want to make sure that you're multiplying uh, product A uh, for milling only in assembly line, or not assembly line, but testing line 1, as product A is just not in testing line 2. And you want to do both testing lines for milling for product B and only the second testing line for product C. That's very crucial. That's key to almost everything for not only just the milling, but also when it comes down to calculating uh, net profit, or not net profit, just total revenue actually. Um, she has it as profit on the worksheet, but um, also for this portion right here for drilling, you see how I'm just adding a sum product formula, and there's like this invisible line. Now you see it's just a total of product A and product B. You could manually just multiply the same way we did with um, milling and then both of the testing lines. And as you can see for there, I'm just copying and pasting down below the same formula for milling into the profit. And you just want to drag those all the way down, so that way you're multiplying the profit uh, per unit for each product with what's going on in the testing line. So once again, there's nothing in testing line 2 for product A. There's both testing lines for product B, and then there's only the second testing line for product C. That's very important. So you can literally just copy and paste and just drag down the boxes to match up with the price. From there, you can just input everything into the solver. Um, and you just want to make sure that that rectangle for the decision variables does include both testing lines. You don't want to add the total part to it. You don't even need the total part if you're pretty meticulous on how you're doing everything. And as you see, I made a little mistake here um, with actually calculating um, the time constraints. So everything was fine with the profit. It's actually just the time, as you can see. I don't think it was with this one. It was with testing line 2 as product A in there. You got to make sure everything adds up. So I'm using both sum products for just the testing lines. You only need just B and what I think it's A and B for testing line 1, and then B and C for testing line 2. So once that's all set, you want to make sure that you have your answer report and also your sensitivity report. And then from there, you can just see your constraints. Well, you can see what's binding, your binding constraints, as well as your shadow prices, as you need that information to go ahead and solve. I shouldn't say solve, but just to answer the remaining questions for the assignment here. So with the first one, it's pretty much just asking what is binding. So we have the milling and both testing lines. Those are binding constraints. And I believe for milling, it's I think it's one. Well, actually, that's your shadow price. So I'm getting ahead. So for the shadow price, For milling, it's $1.27, and for I can't remember for testing line one. I think it's like 20 something cents. I can't fully see what's being on the screen at the moment. It's so tiny, so I can't read that. So for assembly line two, not assembly line two, but testing line two should be about 90 cents, or exactly 90 cents, or closer to 91 cents. How you look at it, and those are your shadow prices. And this is a part that I did struggle a bit with on the exam. So you want to make sure that your shadow price is what how much you could be earning if I say how much you could be earning if uh, the the whole model was based on increasing beyond what it currently is. So, for example, um, the first binding constraint that we have here is for milling, and as you can see on the right, for allowable increase, I'm looking at the right hand portion of the screen. Um, it can go up by an additional 48 minutes. So the shadow price is telling us that, hey, we're losing out on $1.27 per minute for 48 additional minutes, and that's what uh, one of the questions, or the following question, is asking. Like, hey, if we invest $60 for an additional hour, so an additional 60 minutes, um, should we do it? And the answer is yes, as we're earning an additional 27 cents if you factor in the dollar that's already going towards every minute, or $60. So we're making 27 cents on top of that for an additional 48 minutes. And you know what? I think I'm gonna just take out my calculator off screen here. Yeah, so I mean that works out. So we're actually making more money doing that. So that's okay. And for the second one, we're actually losing money since we're putting in $1 for every minute. Okay, and we're only making 90 cents. So we're actually losing 10 cents for every minute increase. So that's something we don't want to do. So that's pretty much the answer for the second one. So I'm just jumping ahead. And, you know, as I'm actually talking about this, I'm going to just double check it one more time. But this is pretty much the answer. I actually went to the math lab, and I brought this to them, and they just said, I don't even know where to start. Like, I wish I could help you out. I was kind of blown away. I mean, you're in the math lab. I mean, but I don't know. I mean, business math is it's it's basic algebra but on steroids, and linear programming is definitely algebra. It's just another beast. Um, and it's kind of unfortunate that the professor didn't take a whole lot of time, and really any time, in explaining this. From what I heard, she assumes that we already know how to do this stuff, and I'm like, what? Like, I'm I'm kind of fortunate. I kind of just do this stuff on the side already. Don't ask why. Um, but for here, it's just the same thing I'm writing out down there. Is that, hey, we're losing money, and I think I'll make another video at a later time, just how to set all of this up from scratch. As from what I understand, the professor's still debating as to whether if she should have less Excel use for future exams, which I hope. I mean, they're pretty time consuming to just set up and then to actually run and double check. I mean, the time is just so limited. I mean, but this is pretty much it, and kind of wrapping up. And if you have any other questions or anything, just let me know. See you next time.